Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. Good morning. Um, Hopefully, this is working. I tried it before. I had like 5 seconds and then it cut off, but who knows? Maybe it's going to work right now. I don't know if anybody, you guys are probably all sleeping still. Um, and, can't say I blame you, except for it's noon and you should be up, being productive, doing things. Glad you're here. Hey, I see the couple people are there. That's going to be distracting. Good morning. Good morning. It's working. I'm not up. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, so I guess you can probably watch this later too, hopefully, for those of you who aren't up and watching what's going on right now. What I plan to do is to talk about Hamlet some more. I'm not sure what's going on with the future of school. As I said yesterday, we've gotten some emails and some notifications about things and what we're supposed to be doing over the next couple of weeks. And I guess we'll see how that plays out. I don't know. I think all of the teachers are supposed to start planning together next week and coming up with a plan. So that's what we're going to do. But for now, I'm going to just keep doing this every day for a little while. I want to assign you work. I'm not going to right now. I mean, you probably like hearing that. What I would suggest to you, however, is maybe a journal of some sort. That might be a good thing to occupy some of your time. Maybe some of you are doing that already. I think a daily journal while this is going on would be a great idea for you. Probably a good idea for me as well. Although I think maybe this is my version of a journal. I think being quarantined, shut down, locked in. I don't know what everybody's status is. It's hard. It's hard for lots of people. Maybe it gets easier some days and then harder and then easier and then harder. Maybe you want to go back to school. Maybe you never thought you'd say to yourself, hey, I want to go back to school, but maybe that's where you are right now. I've got the video queued up in the back, kind of. Hamlet, although it keeps shutting off because I ignore it for so long and then go back. There's so many versions of Hamlet. You guys could watch all these over your hiatus from school right now. I'm going to pause 1 second while I cue this up. This is not. There we go. There's Hamlet. Anyway, what I think you should do is a warm up journal. You don't have to do it right now. You don't have to do it. Period. But what I would do is keep track of your thoughts every day. This will be over at some point in time, and again, it might be nice to look back and see how it is that you dealt with what's going on, how you felt during this. And a journal is a good way to do it. So I'll give you a warm up, and the one I came up with for today basically says, what's the best part of being quarantined, isolated, or going through all of this? I know it's a weird one. Like, what's the best part? That's a difficult way to look at it, or a weird way to look at it. But there are some good things about this, or there's a silver lining to whatever we're going through here. I know personally, I'm spending a lot of time with my family, time that we would not necessarily spend together. I'm getting a lot of reading done. I know that's probably hard to believe that I'm doing all that reading, being an English teacher and all. I cleaned the house really well this morning, so my house is very clean right now, or parts of it. What else? I'm getting a lot of exercise in, which I would do anyway. And what else am I doing? I guess that's it. Cooking, eating, trying to stay healthy still. Anyway, that's more than you want to know at this point in time. But if I were you, that's the journal entry that I would look for. Hey, I see that somebody's commenting here that the book is online. Yeah, the book's online. Yes, you don't have to read it. You can just follow along with the movie. You can read along if you want. I put a link to the full text of the book. It's on Google Classroom. I got it from the Folger Theater. All you got to do is Google Thank you, Kim. Yes, that's true. All you got to do is Google the Hamlet complete text. I'm using the Folger theater one. Right now, or where we are today, we're going to be at the beginning or the very end of Act 2. And if you're looking for it, I'm afraid to switch over to the document because I don't know if it's still going to record when I switch documents, so I'm not going to. But it's right at the end of the of Act 2. I'm looking at probably where we're going to start today is line 575 in Act 2, Scene 2. So you can find it and follow along. For those of you just turning in, I don't know what's going on with graduation. I don't know what's going on with prom. I'll hold up hope. I'm still going to try to get the information from those of you whose height and weight I don't have. For those people who haven't paid for it, you probably still should. I don't know really anything other than things I'm telling you. So let's talk about Hamlet, because that's why you guys are all here. That's why I woke up this morning, ready to teach. So I got my book. I know you don't have yours. It's okay. I don't know. You can use the study questions. I don't know if you still have the study questions. It's not really that big a deal. We're just going to talk about some of the parts of the play. So on the screen there behind us, and one of you asked if I could put up the closed captioning. So that's there as well. One of you asked if I could record from my computer and instead of my phone. That's what I'm doing today. And there's Hamlet right there. So he just left the room with the players, and he had just talked to the lead player, about inserting some lines that he's writing on his own to be put into the play that they're going to perform. The play is going to be called The Murder of Gonzago. If you want to take a little bit of time later on and Google what The Murder of Gonzago is, go ahead and do that. I'm not going to really go into it here. So all we need to know is that Hamlet was a little fired up. He was happy to see the players. He did tell the player, the lead player, I'm going to write down some lines. I want you to perform this in front of the king and the queen and everybody there, and include the lines that I am going to give you. And so that's where we're going. And he just left the room here, and he's going to give this speech that starts with, "Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I." And really, he's looking at the way the king reacted when he was acting out those lines. Hold on, sorry. When he was acting out those lines yesterday about Hecuba and the queen crying over Priam's dead body after Pyrrhus got his revenge. And he's really what he's going to do here is compare himself to the player king, or the first player. I keep calling him player king because in the play, when they do The Murder of Gonzago, he plays the role of the king. Anyway, my bad, sorry. If it's buffering, I don't know, maybe you guys aren't even watching anymore. So I'm just going to keep going, right? I got nothing else to do. So he's going to compare himself to this actor, and the actor, you'll remember the player, he started crying when he was talking about Hecuba seeing her husband die, and Hamlet is going to compare himself to the player and say, well, look, I had a real reason to, cry, to do something, to get fired up, and I've done nothing. Yet this player, this actor, he's crying, he's all fired up, and he's just an actor. So let's watch some. Let's see if we can follow along. I don't know if I'm just talking to myself maybe, but let's see.
Is it not monstrous that this player here, but in a fiction, in a dream of passion, could force his soul so to his own conceit, that from her working all his visage warmed, tears in his eyes,
I don't want to block it.
Aspect of broken voice, his whole function suiting with forms to his conceit, and all for nothing. For Hecuba. What's Hecuba to him, or he to Hecuba, that he should weep for her? What would he do had he the motive and the cue for passion that I have? He would drown the stage with tears and Please, the general ear with horrid speech, make mad the guilty and appall the free, confound the ignorant and amaze indeed the very faculty of eyes and ears. Yet I, a dull and muddy mettled rascal, peak like joller dreams, unpregnant of my cause, and can say nothing, no, not for a king.
So Hamlet is like, look at what's going on here. I don't know what your comments are saying. I'm sorry. I'm reading those and not thinking. That's not what I should do. So Hamlet's like, this guy lost control of his emotions, got all upset for the death of Hecuba, this fictitious person in the past that he didn't know, right? He's like, what's Hecuba to him or he to Hecuba, that he gets all upset. And then he's like, but I really have something to get upset about. I really have something that I need to do, and I sit back and I don't do anything and I don't say anything. If that player was me, he would shout from the rooftops. He would tell everybody, how he felt. He would, call out the guilty and make them, admit their guilt, or he would do something about it. And he says, yes, I'm just a muddy metal rascal. I don't do anything. So remember, at the very beginning, when Hamlet sees the ghost and the ghost says, remember me, the ghost is telling him, don't forget what I said. And what the ghost said was, you need to get revenge. And the fact is Hamlet's like, I'll do it, I'll get revenge. But he hasn't, right? Time has gone by. Hamlet's done nothing. And he's really acknowledging that right now, once again, saying all these things have happened, but I've, and all these time has gone by, but I've done nothing yet.
Well, who's probably the most dear life and damned if he was me? Am I a coward? Who calls me villain? Breaks my paint across, plucks up my beard and blows it in my face, tweaks me by the nose, gives me the lie, the throat that speaks to the lungs, who does me this, I am naked, for it cannot be, but I am pigeon blood, and lack gall to make oppression bitter or air this. I should have fatted all the region kites with this slave's awful, bloody, bawdy villain, remorseless, treacherous, kindness, man of vengeance!
So Hamlet's pretty fired up right there. But basically he's saying, I'm just a punk, right? I've got the reason, I've got the evidence, and I've still done nothing. I'm supposed to get revenge, and I haven't done it yet. So he's frustrated with himself. With a good reason, right? I mean, he promised his dad's ghost that he was going to get revenge, and he didn't. Maybe he's a little dramatic now. I get it, but.
What on earth am I? This is most brave that I, the son of a dear father, murdered, prompted to my revenge by heaven and hell, must, like a whore, unpack my heart with words and fall a cursing like a very drab scullion, fight upon foe about my breed. I have heard.
All right, here we go. So Hamlet's like, yeah, I'm calls himself a whore, right? He says, I don't, do anything. I just, all I do is say things, but I don't act upon them. And here he comes with a plan. And he's going to tell us that he's heard that guilty people sitting in front of a play, when they see things going on in front of them that reminds them of their guilt, they blurt out their guilt and they, admit to what they've done. And he says this is what he's going to do. So he's come up with a plan, and his plan is basically, we're going to see it right now, and then we'll stop.
The guilty creatures sitting in a play have, by the very cunning of the scene, been struck so to the soul that presently they have proclaimed their malefactions. For murder, though it have no tongue, will speak with most miraculous organ. I'll have these players play something like the murder of my father before mine uncle. I'll observe his looks, I'll tempt him to the quick. If he but blench, I know my course. The spirit that I have seen may be of the devil, and the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape, yea, and perhaps out of my weakness and my melancholy, as he is very potent with such spirits, abuses me to damn me. I have grounds more relative than this. play is the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. And can you find it?
Yeah. All right. So that's Hamlet's plan. He's like, the play's a thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. He's going to have the actors put on a play resembling the murder of his father. He's going to watch the king. If the king does, he says blench, but if his, if he looks guilty, if he acts guilty, whatever, he is going to. Can't read those lines. He is going to, if the king reacts strongly or shows that he, feels guilty or whatever, Hamlet knows he's going to be able to get his revenge and kill him. He says right before that, I know the devil takes a pleasing shape and abuses me to damn me. He's like, maybe this is the devil, and I've been weak and melancholy and sad, and maybe this is the devil trying to trick me to get me to do something bad so he can, send my soul to hell. He's like, but this will let me know. So Hamlet still, he's giving himself some wiggle room to get out of it, but he's also maybe seeming a little bit motivated now to get the revenge that he promised his father. We talked about it very briefly at the beginning of the play, and Hamlet's greatest flaw in the whole play, his personality flaw, is this delay. And it's called Hamlet's delay. And Hamlet's delay is not getting revenge. He said it in the first act. He said right away, you just tell me what to do and I'll do it, right? But he hasn't done it yet. So he's been delaying, but now Hamlet seems, I'm going to go and get this revenge that needs to be gotten. So here's the king. He's talking Rosencrantz and Guildenstern about whether or not they have gotten any information from Hamlet.
He does confess he feels himself distracted, but from what cause he will remove to speak. Nor do we find him forward to be sounded, but with a crafty madness keeps aloof when we would bring him on to some confession of his true state.
Did he receive you well?
Most like a gentleman, not with much forcing of his disposition. Niggard of question, but about demands most free in his reply.
Did you say to any pastime?
No, it so fell out that certain players we all brought on the way. Of these we told him, and had seen in him a kind of joy to hear of it. They are about the court, as I think they have already ordered this night to play before him.
It is most true, and he beseeched me to entreat your majesties to hear and see the matter.
With all my heart. And it does much content me to hear him so inclined, good gentleman, given the first age. And drive these purpose into his delights. Someone. Sweet Gertrude, leave us too, for we have closely sent for Hamlet, that he, as per by accident, may hear affront Ophelia. Her father and myself, lawful as rivals, will so bestow ourselves, that seeing unseen, we may then encounter frankly judge and gather.
So Claudius says, hey, Gertrude, get on out of here. Polonius and I, being lawful espials, and he's saying we're legitimately allowed to spy. So they're going to use Ophelia as bait. And when Hamlet is walking around in this hall like they know he does every day, they're going to send Ophelia out there, and they're going to hide behind one of those doors. And those doors all have mirrors on them. So in this particular setting, it's set up nicely to spy. But they're going to be behind one of those one-way mirrors. They're going to watch they're going to watch Hamlet and Ophelia and see if Ophelia's breaking Hamlet's heart is really the cause of his, madness. So Polonius, again, being the spy, the sneaky guy that he is, that's his motivation, is being sneaky and finding out things that way.
But by him, as he has behaved, it be the affliction of his love or no, that thus he suffers for.
I shall obey you. And for your part, Ophelia, I do wish that your good beauties be the happy cause of Hamlet's wildness. So shall I hope your virtues will bring him to his wounded way again, to both your honours. Madam, I wish it may.
So Gertrude's basically like, Ophelia, I hope that your breaking up with him is the reason why, he's upset, and maybe you two can work this out or figure it out and make Hamlet feel better again. And, we know that it's not just Ophelia's, breaking his heart, but there's other things at play here. And Gertrude is maybe part of it.
Freedom. Walk you here. Gracious sir, this you will bestow ourselves. Read on this book The show of such an exercise may colour your loneliness. We are oft to blame in this. It is too much proved with the devotions, visage, and pious action. We do show the devil himself. Oh, it is too true.
So here, this is kind of interesting if you are paying attention. This is kind of interesting because they're telling Ophelia to pretend to read this book, and then when Hamlet comes along, he'll be deceived and try to and think that she's there innocently, and he'll speak his mind to her. But what Polonius just said to her is what King Claudius kind of just picked up on. Let me see if I can get it right here. We are oft to blame. It's just too much proof that with devotions, visage, and pious action we do sure o'er the devil himself. He's basically saying that the way we behave on the outside is sometimes different than the way we see. The way we seem on the outside is sometimes different than the way we are on the inside. Right? We cover up, ugliness with beauty, and we hide the ugliness underneath. And that reminds Claudius what he has done. Right? That reminds Claudius that he killed his brother, and it kind of touches some kind of guilty nerve there.
A smile of laugh and speech looked in my conscience. The harlot's cheek beauty of this plastering art is not more ugly to the thing that helps it. And it's my deed, my most painting word. Oh, heavy burden. I gave him coming.
I don't know. Do you feel bad for Claudius here? He feels a little guilty, right? He says he compares himself to a whore, to a prostitute, and says, they can paint over themselves with, cosmetics and makeup and try to make themselves look beautiful, but underneath there's still the ugly truth. And he looked kind of repentant and kind of like he feels bad, but I don't know. Do you think he really does? I don't really think he does. But don't listen to me. You decide. Anyway, Polonius is like, here comes Hamlet, and they got to go run and hide. So I guess most of you, anybody, if I said, tell me some lines of Hamlet that you've heard before, you're going to say the next lines that he speaks. So they opened up the one-way mirror there. They can see him. He can't see them.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
So a couple things. What does he mean by to be or not to be? We'll talk about that in a minute. The other thing is anytime you see, or maybe not anytime, but anytime you see, like an image with Hamlet saying to be or not to be, he's holding a skull in front of him, like looking at this skull and saying to be or not to be, that is the question, which is wrong. That's not how this scene plays out. There is no skull he's looking at here. He's not, looking at, death in the eyes here. So, when you think about this or in the future, you're going to see it. If you just Google to be or not to be images, I'm sure you would see a bunch of pictures of Hamlet holding a skull, and that's not what happens, all right? To be or not to be, that is the question.
Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by sleep, to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream.
So Hamlet, when he says to be or not to be, that is a question. He's saying to live or die, right? To continue to live or to die. That is the question. Whether there's nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune or take arms against them. So he's basically saying, is it better to be alive and suffering or to be dead and escape all the pain? All right? I don't know what that means, Trevor. What line? I don't know. Sorry, you can't hear all that well. This is weird setup for me. But he's debating whether or not he's going to kill himself. Should I kill myself? Is his thought. Is it better to live and be unhappy and suffer in pain, or to die and be dead? And really, let's go through it. But he's saying, that's a choice that we all deal with.
There's the rub. But in that sleep of death, what dreams may come.
So he says to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. And then he says, there's the rub. So really he says that's the rub. That's the conflict. That's the reason that people don't, exactly, to be or not to be. That's the reason people don't, just end their lives when things get complicated, is because, it's to dream, perchance to sleep perchance to dream. Either you don't know what's going to happen on the other side. So that's the problem, is that's what he's talking about here, is that, people facing that, right, don't know what's on the other side of death.
When we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who will bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, a proud man's contumely, the pangs of disprized love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare socket. Who would ardors bear to grunt at?
He says, look, if we knew what was on the other side of death and it was just lollipops and green fields and pony rides and stuff, right, we would all just leave the problems of our life whenever they popped up, right? Things got too hard. Well, it's awesome there. Then you would just go there. But he says that's the problem. That's the rub. That's it. We don't know what's on the other side, and that's why we don't just end our lives when things get complicated. Sorry, I'm reading some of the comments. It's weird. That's why we continue to go on. That's why we continue to suffer. That's why we take the difficulties and we deal with them.
And sweat under a weird. But the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus, conscience doth make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is simply war with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pith and moment with this regard, their currents turn awry and lose the name
Of action.
of action.
So he's looking in the mirror, right? Okay, so if this was on the stage somewhere, it probably wouldn't be put out like this. Hamlet would be just standing in front of the audience, and the king and Polonius would be hiding somewhere off to the side. But they've got this elaborate set here to use, all right? So he's kind of, looking in the mirror. He doesn't know they're on the other side, and he's having a conversation with himself. If it were you, if it were me, all right, we would just be thinking these lines, right? This is a soliloquy. This is what's going on in Hamlet's head. The director here just uses the mirror to let us know, to be creative in the way he's having this conversation. Is he threatening himself? I don't know if he's threatening himself. I think what he's doing is kind of, working through his thoughts. He's saying, people kill themselves when things get too hard or they want to, but then they realize that maybe it's a lot worse, being dead than it is being alive. So they lose the course of action. They They say, I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to suffer with what I know. And that's basically what he's saying as well, is he is, going to continue to, suffer. He's not going to kill himself. And maybe that's what he was considering, at the very beginning. To be or not to be is to live or die. Right? And we know that he doesn't want to kill himself. Well, he talked about it in the very beginning too, right? It's a mortal sin as well. Ophelia's coming in.
The fair Ophelia. In thy orisons, you all my sins remembered.
Good my lord, how does your honour for this many a day?
I humbly thank you. Well,
He thinks you just bumped into her. She was sent there by her father and the king. Watch them. Do you think they really loved each other back then? Do you think she still loves him?
My lord, I have remembrances of yours that I have long longed to redeliver.
So remember, she was told to break up, not see Hamlet anymore, and now she's also making it official in person. And she says, I have remembrances of yours. So little gifts, maybe letters, notes, poems, whatever. She's going to give them back to him.
I pray you now receive them.
not I. I never gave you aught.
What? You know what you did. And with them, words are so sweet but composed has made the things more rich. Their perfume lost. Take these again. For to the noble mind rich gifts wax poor when givers prove unkind. There, my lord.
Are you honest?
My lord,
Are you fair?
what means your
I
lord?
said, if you be honest and fair, your honesty should have been no discourse to your beauty.
Good beauty, my lord, have better commerce than with honesty.
Truly, for the power of beauty will soon transform honesty from what it is not more, and the force of honesty can translate beauty into his likeness. This was some kind of a paradox.
Yeah.
But now the time gives its proof.
All right, so we're going to wrap up right here today because it's been 32 minutes, and I don't know if anybody's even, if there's 5 of you paying attention. But, right, okay, you right there at the bottom are giving good feedback there. I'm not going to say your name because that would, Anyway, so, right, Ophelia's bait. They sent the king and Polonius sent her out there to find out if Hamlet is the cause of her madness, if he's really upset because she dumped him and their love has fallen apart, or is it something else? And if it's something else, maybe it's the death of the king, his father, not King Claudius. And King Claudius, again, is going to be paranoid because he killed Hamlet's father, and he's going to be worried about if anybody finds out what might happen to him. So Ophelia was sent out there to be bait, to ask or to see how Hamlet reacts, and how does he react? He reacts kind of angrily and knocks the letters out of her hand. And we'll stop here. We'll come back to this tomorrow. But the idea of Ophelia showing up is to find out what's going on with Hamlet. Because from an outside perspective, is it just the death of his father? Is it that his mother married his uncle? Is it Ophelia broke up with him? Or is it, something else? All right. So we're going to stop there. Thanks for coming today. Maybe more people will watch this. I think it gets saved on my my channel as well. Have a nice day. Do something interesting. Get in touch. On I guess on here or on Classroom or email me. You have my number. You can text me if you need anything. Let me know, and we'll meet back here tomorrow. All right, guys. See you soon. Stay safe.